right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this very first lesson um, of your history PowerPoint reviews. So, the first one we're going to talk about is everything you were supposed to learn in the seventh grade. Okay, last year was a really weird year, so some of the things you may have covered more in depth than others. So, it's my goal that through this presentation, we'll cover the things that you should cover and things that you need to know so that we can move on into your eighth grade stuff. Okay, so we're going to start. This first lesson is actually just going to be about um, some pre U.S. histories, some like the original natives and where they came from, the European exploration and colonization. So some of those things that you need to know. So here we go. All right. So prelude to a nation. You see this map here. You see Alaska. Of course, Alaska was just a part of northern part of America there. It's now a state of the United States. It wasn't then, obviously. Neither was the U.S. a nation. So you had this land bridge here. You see this gray area? This gray area used to be land above the was still land, but it's now submerged. So before it was submerged, it was above the water and you could walk on it or whatever. Ancient nomads migrated to the American continent from Asia via this land bridge called Beringia. The first American civilizations include Olmecs, Mayan, Aztecs, Incas, Inuits, Chippewan, Carrier, Yorick, Northern Peyote, Utes, and Shoshones, among others. Right. All right, so European exploration, colonization. The results of the Renaissance and the Scientific Revolution. The Renaissance and the Scientific Revolution brought big changes to Europe. European countries began to compete with one another for natural resources and trade power. They also wanted spices, gold, and other riches. Improved shipbuilding and navigational tools allowed for long sea voyages. So, of course, they're battling over goods and land that they have access to there because of those trade routes and stuff. Now that they have open seas and they can navigate these open waters, now they're going to start competing for lands that they can only reach via ship. So they also wanted spices, gold, and other riches. Exploration would give these countries what they needed to stay in power or become powerful. So naturally, it was a battle between these nations. The age of exploration was a time of discovery for new lands. Innovations in cartography. Cartography means map making. You'll need to know that for the quiz. And trade and the exchange of cultures and ideas from distant lands. The three countries that claimed land in North America originally: Spain, England, and France. There's Spain, there's England, there's France. Okay, sorry, those were a little bit out of order. Reasons for exploration: gold. You need to know these. Gold, which includes riches and wealth. And the reasons for exploration, you have your three G's: gold, God, and glory. So with gold, it's the riches and wealth. With God, it's the desire to spread their religion or practice their own faith without feeling like they can't do so because of their systems of governments. Okay, glory, fame from discovering a new land. So some of these navigators, these explorers, discovering new lands brought with it riches and fame. Okay. All right. So your European empires, you have Spain and Portugal. They were both Catholic nations. They claimed land in the New World as well. Of course, the three main ones are England, Spain, and France, but Portugal even had some in the New World. The Pope, the leader of the Catholic Church, drew lines separating the territories of Portugal and Spain. The Portuguese Empire, which included Brazil and the west coast of Africa. So Portugal, it settled more areas in South America than in North America. The Spanish Empire controlled parts of Europe and the Americas. Now, Spain controlled areas in both South, or in all South, Central, and North America. The Netherlands, the Dutch East Indies Company began trading in the Spice Islands in the early 1600s. Now, the Spice Islands are in the Caribbean, okay? And it became a very popular stop on what we'll later learn about the slave trade from Africa. So, trading posts in North America, the Caribbean, and Southern Africa. Sold goods to the French, English, and Spanish colonists. The British took control of many of the Netherlands markets. England had colonies in North America and the Caribbean and controlled the coast of India. In 1788, they sent 1,000 people to Australia, most of whom were prisoners. So Australia originally, well, not originally as in the Aborigines, but originally as in colonization originally, was a prison colony. The prisoners raised crops, built roads, constructed buildings. After getting out of prison, many stayed and built farms or settled in the towns growing along the coasts. France included colonization in North America, Asia, and the West Indies. Lost most of its territory to Britain, but still controlled parts of Southeast Asia and parts of Western Africa. Okay. All right, so the colonies, and you need to know these colonies and what part of the colonies they were. So what characteristic it had, and where it best lined up. Okay, so each colony was unique in its characteristics. However, they are grouped together based on location, reasons they were founded, and what types of industries they had. And you're going to see these same types of characteristic groupings as we go through the United States, and especially when we get into the Civil War too. All right, sorry about had a visitor. Anyway, so you have your colonies here. You have your New England colonies: Rhode Island, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and New Hampshire. Okay, that's these guys right here in the purple. There's Rhode Island, there's Connecticut, there's Massachusetts, and there's New Hampshire. Maine was not yet a colony. Okay, it was not a state. It was never a colony. You have your middle colonies here. You have New York, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Delaware. And then your southern colonies here, Maryland is here. You have Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Okay, so those are your colonies, your original 13 colonies, and which also became your original first 13 states after the American Revolution. Okay. So then there was conflict in the colonies. Tensions are starting to rise. The colonists are starting to feel like they should be kind of running their own thing. They should be ruling themselves. But you also had the Native Americans who felt like, their livelihood, their lives have been, their culture had been encroached upon. So they're trying to get rid of the colonists. So they began attacking each other's villages and settlements. They had very different ideas about owning land than the colonists. Natives believed that no one could own the land. Okay, and we'll talk about this a little bit further or later on once we get after Reconstruction, we'll talk about that, because this is not a problem that will go away with the founding of the Republic. Okay, so natives believed no one could own the land, while colonists believe you could own it if you claimed it. Okay. Arguments began to lead to war, resulting in lives lost. Some tribes were almost completely wiped out because the English settlers had many advanced weapons. All right, so that's where we're going to stop on this lesson. And then we'll get into part 2, the American Revolution.